Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know, if I'll ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Successfully Chaotic, the podcast where we navigate the beautiful chaos of balancing entrepreneurship with real life. I'm your host, Maria Daniels, and today we're diving into a topic that I am sure that many of you have wrestled with: the elusive concept of work-life balance. The thing is that we've all done it. We've chased that idea of true 50-50 balance. And if you haven't, don't tell me, because I have so many times, even when I have known better, and I have to remind myself that that doesn't actually exist. But what does that balance really mean? Is it all the way a myth? Are there some things that we can do to help balance out our lives a little bit? And if so, how can we strive for it in a way that works for us? So let's dive in and unpack all of this together. All right. This is a whole long thing with me. This is literally the basis of this entire show, is trying to find that elusive work-life balance. And we hear about it all the time. It's touted as the ultimate goal. It's touted as the key to happiness and success. But what does it really mean? And is it even achievable? For me, this journey, this quest for balance has often felt like chasing a unicorn. Beautiful and mythical and frustratingly elusive. The term work-life balance suggests that somehow, somewhere, some way, there is this perfect equilibrium, a state where our work responsibilities and our personal lives somehow coexist in harmony. And we get these images of just butterflies and unicorns and, jumping on fluffy clouds of awesomeness. But if you're like most entrepreneurs, you know that this is easier said than done. It usually consists of long hours, a consistent hustle, and pressure to succeed that can often tip these scales and leave us feeling overwhelmed, out of sync, questioning why we even started this journey in the first place. So today, let's break down this concept and let's see if we can find a more realistic approach. First, let's tackle some of the most common misconceptions about work-life balance. Misconception number one is that balance means equal time for work life and personal life. The reality is that balance is not about spending an equal amount of time on each. It's about aligning your time with your priorities. There are going to be times when your work life demands more of your attention, and it's going to make you feel like you are completely neglecting your personal life, your family life. And there's going to be times where your personal life has to take the precedence. And I think that this is somewhere that we get caught up regularly, especially, as a mom. I constantly feel like whatever I am focusing on at that very moment is not the right thing. Because if I am needing to hyper focus on my business because we are, starting a new strategy, or, there's some changes going on, I definitely can feel that my personal life, my self-care, my family time, the cleanliness of my house, all of these things start to suffer. And then when I pivot to go start working on all those things, because I know that they are, feeling neglected, and I can feel it in my soul, then the same thing starts to happen with my business. And it can leave you feeling that, like, no matter what you're doing, it is not the right thing. And that can be so overwhelming. That can be so frustrating. And honestly, it is the main thing that has kept me, falling off of that wagon of realizing that there's never going to be a 50-50 balance, because I accidentally try to do that again, knowing that that does not exist, because I want both of those things in my life. I love my businesses. Now, granted, sometimes my businesses drive me crazy. Sometimes they just feel like overwhelming, and I have questioned, like, why did I even start? This is just too much right now. But I would do it again. If I had it to choose over, I would do it again. And the same thing with my family life. I have 7 children. There's 4 that are, graduated. 3 of those 4 are moved out. And then I have 3 younger kids. And then my 19-year-old still lives at home. I have a full and busy life, and I wouldn't change it. There are times where my kids drive me absolutely bonkers, but I would still choose it again. And I think that is the reality, is as chaotic as my life can be sometimes, I would choose it all again. And for me, that makes it worth it. But that doesn't mean that I don't need to try to find some type of a balance. And if you're anything like me, your balance is not going to be a permanent state. It's going to change, because what that balance looks like when you have a brand new baby business that you started yesterday is not going to look the same as what that business needs 5 years from now. And the same goes with your family. What your family needs at that very moment when you have a bouncing brand new baby newborn is not going to look the same as when you have a 10-year-old. So it's figuring out that it's not permanent. And that is our misconception number 2, that balance is static. It's this permanent state, that it doesn't change, that you find balance like it's this destination. And then you've arrived in balance, and you're there, and you live in balance now, and everything is perfect, and you're hanging out with the unicorns, right? No, this could not be further from the truth. Life is dynamic. It's constantly changing, and so is balance. It is an ongoing process that requires regular reassessment, regular adjustment. And there's going to be some days that you're going to feel balanced and on top of the world, and you're checking those to-do lists off, and you feel just zen, right? Everything is great. And there's other days, not so much. And that's okay. Misconception number 3, that achieving balance is the same for everyone. Woo, that is a big one. I can't tell you how many people that I studied and watched and read and listened to when I first was starting on my entrepreneurship journey. And I would try to replicate some of the things that they were doing. And some things did help, and some things didn't help, because my journey wasn't the same as theirs, like not even close, right? And I think that idea that you follow this, 5 steps, and that you're going to achieve this balance, the idea that that's the same for everyone can be so damaging, because each person's version of balance is unique, and it's influenced by their values. It's influenced by their responsibilities and their personal circumstances. And what works for one person, it might not work for another person. And it's important to define what balance means for you personally, rather than trying to fit into someone else's model. Sure, read, listen, get inspired, and then take that information and look at your own values, look at your own responsibilities, and look at your own personal circumstances, and craft something that will work for you. So, what does balance truly look like? Balance is a personal and fluid concept that can change over time. For some, it might mean working fewer hours to spend a little bit more time with family. And for others, it could be integrating work and personal activities together in a way that feels fulfilling and sustainable. And again, if you're like me, it's probably a combination of all of those things. It depends on the day. I try to integrate my life together. When I first started on this entrepreneurship journey, I tried to keep everything in its own little bucket, all neat and tidy in its own little bucket. But the problem is life doesn't work that way. Life is not neat and tidy, and it doesn't stay put in a bucket. It's much more chaotic and much more rambunctious, and my buckets would leak into each other all the time. And I spent so much time trying to like fish them back into the appropriate buckets that I was wasting so much time, so much energy, and so much money on trying to make this happen. When in reality, I never needed to do that to begin with. Integration of your life, whatever your life looks like. Your life can look like a single gal with 2 cats and, a booming business, or your life could look a little bit more crazy like mine with 7 crazy kids and a lot of businesses and a husband that I probably get on his last nerve more than once a day. It's whatever life you have designed, because you have the power to do that. You define your own life. And within that, you define what success looks like to you. And so when you're figuring those things out, you also figure out that means you define what balance looks like for you and make it feel sustainable for you, your life, your desires. Finding your own version of balance starts with identifying your core values and priorities. What matters most to you? Be flexible, because life changes. You need to be able to adapt. You need to be able to set boundaries. You need to be able to communicate those boundaries clearly to people around you. And you need to regularly reassess and adjust your balance to reflect your current circumstances and goals. Because life does not look the same today as it did 2 years ago. Life is not the same today as it's going to be 5 years from now. So if you're keeping the static plan, the static set of priorities, the static set of goals, trying to find balance, it's never going to work. You have to be able to adapt to reflect your current life. All right, so let's get into some practical steps that you can take today to start finding your own sense of balance. First, start small with achievable changes. You do not have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Yes, I'm talking to you because I am like that too. I am so instant gratification. I want to push that reset button and boom, it's all done. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You have to start small. You have to have achievable goals. Maybe that looks like setting aside 10 minutes a day for self-care. Or maybe it looks like turning off your work notifications after a certain time of the day. And you also need to prioritize your mental health and well-being. So maybe this looks like making time for activities that rejuvenate you. Forget the to-do list during that time. What rejuvenates you? What feeds your soul? Whether it's exercise or some fun hobby, or maybe it's simply relaxing and reading a good book. These things are so important to implement in. Third, use tools and resources to help manage your time and reduce stress. Planners, productivity apps, even coaching can provide structure and support. Figure out some of these things that work for you. And don't be afraid to decide it doesn't work for you. Maybe you try some specific type of planner and you are like, you know what? I've tried this digital planner. It's not for me. I'm going to go back to my old trusty, paper pen planners. And that's okay, right? Make it work for you. And finally, don't be afraid to ask for help or delegate tasks. Listen, you do not have to do everything yourself. You need to learn to lean on your support network, whether it's family, friends, colleagues. And if you don't have a support network, you need to figure out how to find one, because the whole lone wolf thing, I get it. I'm naturally a lone wolf. it's overrated. It's okay to have our own personal time and to, hone in and do things ourselves sometimes. But there are also times where you need to be able to lean on support. You need to be able to lean on a network. And if you're not sure how to start that, just start reaching out, start making some friends, start connecting with like-minded individuals. And it doesn't have to be in person. It can be online, digitally. A lot of my closest connections I have met digitally. All right, we're going to wrap this up. And while we're wrapping up, I want you to remember that work-life balance is a personal and dynamic concept. It is about aligning your time and energy with your values and priorities, not someone else's. So reflect on what balance means to you and start taking some small steps towards it. In our next episode, we're going to dive into morning routines and how starting your day with purpose can set the tone for success. I wanted to thank you for joining me today, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. You can share them with me on our social media at Successfully Chaotic or via email at info@successfullychaotic.com. Until next time, stay balanced and keep embracing your own version of chaos and finding that balance.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights.